involved with the pool group so far.
Well, hopefully you won't resist, helping the neighborhood association, trying to get
Baseball
started.
season.
Yeah.
Yep. Hit them up post baseball season.
And it should be a small neighborhood association with the community that's out there.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's not one. There used to be.
They used to be, yeah. Yeah.
All right, 5:30, we'll call the meeting to order. First on the agenda is approval of the minutes. Entertain a motion if there was one.
Move to be approved. I'll second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, unanimous approval, street continues. Nice work. No public comment. No unfinished business, so we roll on to new business, and Alan Billings is gonna give us a South Sound wildlife update.
Perfect. Let her rip. Yeah. So that's our 60-second synopsis of what the area is. Anybody here who doesn't know where the South Life area is? Dig down and there you go. It's across from Hutloff Middle School. The site was, you want to let me push the down button and I'll. It was originally part of the Andrew F. Burt land claim, one of the very first settlers out in this area, and deeded to the state of Washington in 1923, who turned it into a farm area that was feeding Western State Hospital. And after a number of years, they said it was too far away, it didn't work well, and that's when the barns and all of Western State Hospital began to take shape and become the farm area for the hospital. And at that time, the state developed it into what they called a game farm. It was a game enhancement program. They raised pheasants there for many years, sheltered injured animals, and they have a hatchery on this site. And they raised pheasants. And after about 35 years of raising the pheasants in the pens, letting the males loose here and the females in eastern Washington, thinking they were doing game enhancement, they discovered they were just basically feeding the coyotes in eastern Washington because they were dumb birds. Well, we've learned the same thing about hatcheries too. You can't just turn loose fish or animals and call that game enhancement. So the area basically was abandoned, a lot of it. There's still some functioning parts of it. The hatchery has never shut down. It's got funding. It produces all the fish for Pierce County lakes and such. The Pacific Coast Wildlife Marine Mammal Study Unit is located on the site, and they've never left. But all the caretakers' houses and such are now turned into state office buildings for the Department of Fish and Wildlife for some of the things that are going out there. But of the 100 acres or so that are out there, about half of it is open to the public and was left in just almost complete disarray. The state did plant some Gary Oaks and put a ADA trail all the way around the outside of the prairie. And then it was completely defunded after that, because that's when we went into significant state problems with financial care, and it sat at disarray. It used to have literally thousands of field trips to it a day from schools to go see the pheasants and all the animals that they sheltered there. And those had just completely gone away. You can see the hatchery building there. It's fed by a natural spring that also feeds the two ponds that are in there. And those two ponds, there are two endangered species being studied by the state of Washington, Oregon spotted frog and the western pond turtle. One piece of the property that was not deeded away was the Andrew F. Bird Cemetery, located about the middle of it. Could be up to 100 settlers' graves there. We don't really know exactly how many are in there. It's probably 45 or so are marked, some with actual names and some with markers. A great place to go out there with ground penetrating radar. But in those days, grandma died, you wrote it in the back of the family Bible, and that was it. You buried her. And so there's not really good records of that period of time. But that piece still belongs to the Bird family, and they join us on community work days to keep the cemetery area clean. This is just kind of a picture of the very beginning of this site when we started working out there to restore this area. Rotary and the community has got together, and we have funded a huge number of different projects. This is putting in a retaining wall and turning that area in the back into an indigenous garden. For people to see what belongs out in the prairie where we raise plants, gives you a little view of before and after. That's an Eagle Scout project working on the indigenous garden. We've had 14 Eagle Scout projects over there in the last 5 years, which is quite a few. Done a lot of things done with the Eagles. You can see Clover Park School District participates with us. They come out twice a year with all the high school students. They need volunteer hours in order to graduate from high school. Ron Banner is a champ about making this available and funds the kids and gives them a t-shirt when they show up, feeds them lunch, to come out. It's an opportunity to do public service as well as education, because a lot of what we do is we say planting some of the prairie restoration plants for the high school kids when they come out. There's an idea what the garden looks like when we're done. We've installed a fence in the background that was just open out to the area. Fence has a number of holes in it that are designed for people and pedestrians, bikes, strollers, but no cars. So we try to keep it open. There is a lot of wildlife out in this area. This is the Northwest Youth Corps that we've been employed out there. We've turned into one of their favorite sites. And so we've been able to get a lot of grant money through them in order to have work crews out there. We have one out there this week, in fact. We've taken some of the old pens that used to hold birds. We poured concrete in them and created slabs for picnic and gathering areas. We put in animal footprints through the concrete and put up a big ID sign poster. So when kids come out there, they can look for the footprints and try and identify what's out there. This is what the ADA trail looked like when we found it. Can't really get a stroller or a wheelchair or anything down that. That's what it looks like today. We've got that with it. It's almost a half mile long through there and accessible right through the parking lot in the area. There was the benches that we started with. There were a couple of those left there. The benches have been financed through Rotaries, 2 Rotaries, Kiwanis, Alliance Club, and a family just out here in Lakewood to put those out in the site. So those are all current park bench quality, permanent ones laid in foundations where they have a gorgeous view of the area. So this is looking from one of those benches just out. You can see in the far background, that's the hatchery down the lower area. Still see Scotch broom in this picture. We've been pulling Scotch broom now for 5 years. It's almost eradicated in the major part of the prairie. So all we have to deal with now is the seeds that last 50 years in the ground. But as they come up, we pull them, and we're working on them every single time we get a chance. The Scotch broom out there was epic. It was literally acres and acres of 6, 8 foot tall Scotch broom, and that was all it grew. These are the only thing that the state did to restore the area was to plant these Gary Oaks. So the first thing we did was save them from the Scotch broom and such, pull from around them. Dairy oaks, though, normally will grow in clusters and oddball groups. State planted these babies in perfect rows in their two little areas. So it's not really natural, but we're gonna let it grow and it'll eventually become part of the oak savanna prairie that it looks like. Here's what the weed wrenches do to these plants. So they pull them out roots and all, and those roots go down 4 or 5 feet. It's just a remarkable solution to them. No poison, anybody can do it. Takes a lot of time. But there's what it looks like now. You can see one of the little planting areas here. They're all free of the debris. This is what the fence line and the general public parking area looked like when we originally got there. We added this fence where the old fence used to be. This used to be all chicken wire fencing along there for the pens for the pheasant. And we put up some signage with the State Department of Washington, let people know this area is open to the public during hours of daylight. This is a huge park in the middle of our city that the city doesn't have to pay for. And it's really been a project that has been embraced by a lot of our local community groups and people. We've had scouts, 3 Rotaries, Kiwanis, Lions Club, Pierce College sends students out every workday. They do studies out there. They build back boxes for us. You can name it. Young Life has been involved, huge amount of public help with this. This is the beginning of one of the areas of restoration we're doing out there to the actual prairie. This process called solarization. We lay down the tarps, we leave it. We tried the first one, we left them down all the way through summer and then planted the area. It didn't work. It's got to be down for a whole year.
About 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. And we've had real good luck with a whole year because this tarp, I went and took the temperature under that puppy in the middle of August. It's 180 degrees. You think you cooked the seed bank? Nope. It just slowed it down a little bit. But you can see the Clover Park students there planting some of the plugs and the indigenous grasses and plants back in the restoration area. This is another Eagle Scout project. We did 4 or 5 raised beds right in the parking lot, put indigenous plants out there that belong in the prairie with signs that have little QR codes to tell you what it is, why it's important, where it should grow, what it should look like. So it's a chance to say, this is what you're going to go look for when you go out in the prairie. We're also using it for a seed bank and plugs to put out in the prairie itself as they propagate out of here. We actually pulled probably 100 camas bulbs out of it this fall. This camas is going well enough, and we put probably 600 or 700 camas back into the field with this. The lupin has come back on its own just from the seed bank that was around. You start to study these things, you find out that, yeah, there's places where the seeds still exist. They'll be under fence lines and such. And once you give it a chance, they start to grow and show themselves back out in the prairie. So this is one of the restoration areas. The big one in the middle is the lupin, is a camas, and those are sea blush, which is a natural prairie plant, comes up. It's absolutely gorgeous for about 4 or 5 weeks and disappears. And that's the way the prairie grasses should be, is the clump grasses, holes in the middle that are dirt. And they look like they're vacant, but really what they are is they're where all the flowers should come up, take their time, spend their summer, and then die back. We've added 6 of these informational signs all along the 88 trail. So as students and people walk along, they can learn something about the environment, the habitat that they're in. This one has to talk about all the parts of a tree and why trees are important, and why even a dead tree is important. We have a riparian area sign down there. We actually have a number of unique habitats in this area. We've got the creek bed, which is Chambers Creek that runs through it. We have a riparian area alongside that. We have a marsh area, which is where the turtles and the frogs are being studied. And then we've got the oak savanna prairie and the woodlands. So we've got a huge variation of habitats in this one little tiny small area, and it's dead center in the middle of our city. It's really a priceless piece of property here. There's a picture of what a western pond turtle looks like. They have existed here now for 35 years. They raise them in a pond that's not open to the public. They've built mounds, and they're studying what it takes to make this turtle survive. They literally live in the pond, but they climb up onto a hill, dig a hole, lay their eggs. The eggs stay there for 5 months, and then the little ones come out and try and find their way back to the pond. A very unusual turtle. It's the only one that's indigenous to our area. So when they lay the eggs, they literally go dig them up. They go to Woodland Park Zoo for incubation for them to make sure they get 100% there. So the Oregon spotted frog. And then these are just a frog and a turtle, but they're indicator species, for the wetlands and such. So they're important. We're trying to find out why they don't exist. We know bullfrogs are murder on them. Fortunately, we don't have bullfrogs in this pond, but they've got them down at the Squally Wildlife Area and they can't get rid of them. They found the otters eat them now. They're starting to embrace the otters down there, but they're a real problem. So this is just some pictures of the kids working there in the turtle pond there on a boardwalk the youth court kids did. One of the signs going in out on the prairie area telling people. And I had to put this one in. There's your mayor mowing the grass. He's been good about coming to our public work days when he can. Holly sends him out and make sure he's always there. So we've had a tremendous amount of support. There's what the prairie looks like today. It used to be solid Scotch Pearl. And in the summer, if you go out there in the spring, it will be amazing. So just some of the groups that have participated in it. Should have the city of Lakewood up there, the Clover Park School District, like I said, and the colleges. But this has been a project and it's ongoing that really has been embraced by the community. Funds have been very easy to come up with because it's such a community-based thing. We've gotten an ELA grant from Department of Fish and Wildlife. We've gotten an urban forestry grant for over $100,000 we've used for the youth corps. We've got grants from Pierce County Watershed every year. Lakewood Community Foundation gives us money. They gave us money for the signs, some of the signs, because those are $5,000 a piece. They're not cheap. So it's really been a tremendous community project that everybody has engaged in, and work continues on there. So we'll watch your Cascadian for the next work day. It'll be in May. I think it's May 18th on Saturday. We work half a day, but we get 100 people out there and get a lot done, and a lot of people do a lot of learning. Have any questions there? Because that's ma'am.
Questions, the Discover Pass, are people discouraged by having to have one of those?
Technically it has to have a Discover Pass. Officer Prather is the only one who patrols that, and he turns a blind eye to everybody that doesn't throw a mattress out.
Okay.
Seriously, when we started this project, they had 6 cameras on the parking lot. We have 1 now because we've eliminated the homeless problem by raising all the trees and so much traffic and people out there working the dogs. And Mary used to always say, when enough people use an area for the right reasons, fewer people use them for the wrong reasons. And we have seen that really in firsthand on this site. And it's an amazing thing.
What's the turning point when they?
I think the big turning point was when it started to look clean. All the trees used to go all the way down to the ground. There were camps underneath them. We pruned those puppies up so you can see right them. There's no place to hide. It's open. People are coming and going more and more. And we put garbage cans out there. Those little shelters that used to be bird enclosures are now picnic areas. It just looks like a public area now.
And then what's the best time to go see the spring work?
End of May. Because there'll be a ton of things showing then.
I see within the last year, they put that gate in. Who controls that and when is it closed?
It is set by a timer. They say the hours of daylight and darkness. They have not adjusted it now that we've come off daylight savings time, I noticed. So it's about time to get an adjustment to it. It has a code to get in and to let anybody out anytime.
So once the gate is closed.
If you're in there, you can get out still.
Correct.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
But is it prohibitive for people to then go into the park once the gate is closed?
Technically, it's like our city parks. It's closed at dusk to the public.
Interesting.
There are people, 2 families that live there at the hatchery, and they come and go all the time. And I've got the gate code. If you ever want to go in the evenings, just let me know. I'll go let you in. Nobody's going to be there to kick you out or throw you out
Sure.
as long as you're behaving.
Sure.
It's officially an leash on dog area. 99% of people let their dogs run loose and they behave and they pick it up. So it's as long as everybody behaves, we don't need the police each other.
It's a great area. I make good use of it. That's why I
Yeah.
want to run. And I see you out there quite a bit now.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
What you've done and the groups and
It's a huge
Yes.
community project,
Yeah.
and it looks, like I said, it's been easy to get people to participate, because it's fun, exciting, and it's really good for our area.
I'd like to nominate your group for as a Weed Warrior Award for Pierce County for all that you did for Scotch. So, I'll get your story.
We had 2 youth court groups there last week,
Yeah.
and we pulled 11 dump trailers of Scotch, and almost the last of it along the bank that was just about gone.
So,
Yeah.
it's- do you have pictures of that?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Thousands of pictures
Yeah.
over the years.
I'll talk to you later.
What's a remarkable amount of work. I'm very impressed by.
Well, I do supervise too.
Yeah, community owes you.
Yeah,
that,
you did
yeah.
direct though.
quite an undertaking.
Having those projects set up and ready to go though is,
Yep.
yeah, important. Nice.
Any other questions on the
Well,
wildlife?
this
area?
this would be a good presentation for the neighborhood associations.
Okay.
You know, the Fort Steilacoom, even the Lake City. I think getting that message out of this area.
People didn't know this area existed when we started.
Right.
Yeah. Youth course, Tacoma, the youth council's coming Monday to plant trees. We've got 40 trees from Pierce County Conservation District. So we've got the youth
Okay.
council coming out to plant those on Monday during spring break.
All right, we'll move on to the next topic. We're gonna skip over special events. Sally's in another meeting until 6, and so we will move on to preparing for Parks Appreciation Day. Good words, like,
We can do words like first.
all right, we're gonna move on.
So. I'm riding the coattails of Parks Appreciation Day. So folks are excited to get outside. And we had the soft opening for Wards Lake in December, which was, folks are engaged in the holidays and it's not the best weather to get out and utilize the park. But I have been out many times since then, and just as you've so graciously described, the right people come and the wrong people are few and far between. The park is completely transformed from its original state. So the park is now, including the acquisition that occurred in 23, about 40 acres. It's 38 acres. And the 2-phase development project that we've just completed last year has really revitalized and programmed space that was otherwise just invasive species. Scotch broom and ivy on the lower kind of prairie area. The upland conifer forest was really ivy and holly. I mean, couldn't even see 10 feet in front of the trail, be on the trail to kind of really have a safe kind of view of any of that area. And then the south park was expanded to include a neighborhood park. So there's off-street parking and a secondary south entry address that has a second playground and access to the city's first mountain bike trail system, which is about 3.5 acres. So the north side of the park includes expanded parking and replacement and expansion of the original playground, as well as an expanded or a concrete pump track. And then all the trails were expanded. There's over 1 mile of trails paved from the south side, and on the north side, there's a loop with a bridge spanning Wards Lake that is accessible. And then the upland trails through the prairie and the forested area were widened and are gravel. And then there's a 1.5 acre off-leash dog park in the, let's see, that would be the southwest corner of the park. So north is to the right on this graphic. So overall, lots of dog walkers, lots of walkers, lots of new bike activity that's drawn to the site. And we're excited to really program the grand opening to highlight those features and get folks out and excited to see all the renovations in the park. Because it is quite a large park in our community, but because it doesn't have a lot of natural site surveillance into the park from the surrounding neighborhood, not a lot of folks even know where it is. So I think spreading the word about the park and the renovations that have occurred and encouraging folks to go visit and utilize some of these new recreation features. You know, spread the word and get folks out using it. So for the grand opening, we're kind of dovetailing the Parks Appreciation Day. We've partnered with Pierce County Conservation District to continue clipping the ivy around the trees around the lake. So we've cleared probably over 10 acres of invasive species during the renovation, but just because it's a never-ending task to keep up on the ivy and the Scotch broom and the invasive species, that is an activity that we're encouraging for the Parks Appreciation Day. And then we've got some programmed activities for the grand opening, including a partnership with the Tahoma Bird Alliance for a bird walk in the morning from 8 to 9. I've partnered with Bikes for Kids, which is an organization in Browns Point through a Presbyterian church that they renovate and rehab bikes. They've donated 8 bikes for a raffle for the day. So we will be getting information on the website up to promote kids that, you know, would like access to a bike to come use these features. We've got 8 bikes to give away, and then West Pierce Fire Department is donating helmets for those bikes so that they can safely get out and enjoy those activities. Kiwanis is supporting a hot dog cook-off around lunchtime. The ribbon cutting is occurring at the bridge from 12:30 to 12:45. And then there's free community activities that are programmed from 1 to 2 o'clock, including the police department has a roadside safety bike obstacle course that they'll be hosting. Alchemy Skateboarding is hosting a pop-up skateboard event on the pump track. So they'll bring pads and skateboards and helmets, and kids can just try it out for fun if they've never skateboarded before. West Pierce Fire Department will offer low-cost helmets as well during that event. And then Evergreen Mountain Bike Alliance, who partnered with the design of the mountain bike area, is hosting a free mountain bike workshop on the trails as well. So we're excited to get everybody out. Have any of you been to the park yet or seen the
Oh, yeah.
improvements? Okay, wonderful. So I'm glad that we can all go out and celebrate, and I appreciate anybody that can make it that day and support the grand opening event.
This site would be ideal for a viewable water or viewable wildlife grant from the state. They do those every year. They're not very hard to get. They're about 15 grand.
What does that entail?
It's literally about a 10-page grant is all. And it would be something you could do around the pond area, put a blind in and a trail to it or something like that to encourage the viewable wildlife.
We are so
This pond has a lot.
It does. I'm a nature nut when I go out there. I was really excited to do the tour under construction with Tahoma Bird Alliance, and she said she does wetland bird counts at this park particularly. And there's a bird, so a lot of the birds are featured on the public art as well on the Portland Loo. But there's a bird called the Virginia rail that she said she counts. I'm not sure for which organization, but she counts, and it is an indicator of a healthy wetland. So I think it's a really positive feature. Pre-construction and during the construction, there was a lot of, I think, misconception that was the city going to dredge, you know, all the cattails out of the lake and there should be more open water. But these birds live in the cattails and live in that, its habitat. And those are also filtering, you know, the pollutants out of the water. So I think inspiring folks to go out and observe all the wildlife around the water that's really drawing them there. I've seen a trio of bald eagles the last week when I was out there, and then the spotted owl that's featured on the front of the Portland Loo is I must live near the dog park because
It's
all
spotted owl, not a barred.
or a barred owl,
Barred
excuse
owl.
me.
My
Yes.
goodness.
I think it lives near the dog park because I've seen it and it wasn't really, you know, all the animals are not really intimidated by any of the construction activity that was going on. So that was quite impressive as well. But lots
By the
of-
freeway.
I know it's kind of deafening. Yeah, they're out there singing their bird song. We were out there just today in the rain and the birds were deafening. They were so loud. So nice to go out in a dense urban area and experience some nature and wildlife and go for a walk.
People are expecting to fish there as well.
We've had questions about fishing under construction and they are allowed to fish. We don't encourage them eating the fish, just given that it's a stormwater facility, even though the water quality, you know, it's not tested by any means, but for a recreation activity, there is one remaining dock.
Right.
From previous improvements at the site that I don't think you can get to open water because it's all kind of, the cattails have grown in. But there's other areas in and near the shoreline that, you know, barring safe access of not trampling all the improved shoreline.
People aren't like demanding fish.
They're not, but I mean, the community, I think, has a need for fishing spaces. There's a lot of competition with all the other recreation activities, like on American Lake and like Silicon, for instance. That I think that's a recreation activity that you know, folks just want to go out, and even if they're not catching anything, I think it's an excuse to go sit by the water and recreate. So
Any other questions? All right, you want to roll on, Sailor, or you want to finish yours?
do you want to speak about the Parks Appreciation Day event as well?
Yeah, I mean, so I want you to finish that. We'll do PAD since it's all kind of tied together before we switch over to events.
Mhm.
All right, Person Appreciation Day.
There's a big sheet over there, and that's all the projects listed on it. And then I also did a packet, site leader packets for you guys, but you get it every year. I'll make sure that the staff has it on site that day. Cameron did this flyer for us. Encouraging people to get signed up and volunteering. We also wanted to note that the Words Lake grand openings happen the same day, so they kind of, like Stacy said, dovetail each other. Projects are pretty much the same as they usually are. Weeding the beds, putting play chips in playgrounds, cutting back blackberries, removing ivy, all those kinds of things. But something special that we have going on at Harry Todd Park is we'll have other activities. So Commencement Bay Rowing Club is committed to doing something there. We have a skate park table dedication. We're gonna have people playing pickleball, so using those pickleball courts out there. And then there's also a sea kayaking class that's gonna be happening the same day, so lots of stuff happening as well as the Words Lake stuff that's happening and going on. We do still need volunteers for some of the smaller parks. Port Silicon always seems to get the most people. So we do have a couple of groups that have committed to working at some of the other parks. But of course, like Harry Todd, we have about 20 people committed. We could probably use another 20 people there. And then same thing at Words Lake, even though we have about 20 committed, probably could use another 10 people there. So, and then Springbrook Park, we're only going to concentrate on their garden. And they usually have like their own garden people that are out there. But if we could get more garden people there, that would be really helpful. So that's kind of what we're doing on that. And then could I get commitments for park board members to be at each site? So I don't know who wants to.
Great talk.
Very good. Okay.
I'll do Fort Stone.
I want to go, guys, though, if it's that's 9 to noon and we want to be at the ribbon cutting too, is there gonna be a way to
Yeah.
manage that? Just Making sure.
Yeah.
We'll let you off at 11:59.
But you
Yeah, a good point.
wherever you
Yeah.
have a blank.
Usually things start winding down by 11:30.
Yeah,
That was
usually,
part of
yeah,
the
yeah.
intention to make sure council
Right.
members and everybody could get over towards,
Yeah.
yeah.
So for Silicon, you need more than one park board member there, or put me where you want.
Yeah, we could do that.
All right.
Are you available, Kate, or?
Edgewater, because it's underserved.
Okay. We have a church group that'll be out there this year, so.
Okay.
we'll be
Yeah.
good.
There was only 2 of us last year.
Yeah, yeah, it's exciting. We're
I did
having
Works
good.
Lake for years for the same reason. So underserved.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully wherever you may be. And then where did you say you needed like 10?
Probably at the garden at Springbrook
Like
or at Wards, yeah.
youth group? A youth group?
Absolutely.
Right, let me talk to him maybe tomorrow. I'll see if I can get a good.
Yeah. Yeah. that
And
would be
Nikki,
great.
correct me, because I think why the plots are managed by individuals, really inside the garden itself, those things that aren't assigned to anybody individually is some of what staff will be
A
out
lot
there
of
and want to
weeding.
focus on. Yeah, a lot of weeding because we don't
Gravel
do it yet.
pathways,
So there'll be a lot of that to bring it up to speed. And then hopefully the second Tuesday in April, right, is the Tillicum. And I think it would be great if we can really promote to that neighborhood group to come out and know the activation plus the service opportunities there.
Yeah.
I just talked to John, Caldwell, and he said that we have parts to replace the bed that was damaged at Springbrook. So I think it's in the Connex there. So that bed replacement could be part of the work program as well.
Great, thank you all. And then,
Anything else on Parks Appreciation Day? Hearing nothing? Then kick it over to you, Sally, for a special events update.
Okay, and how much time do I have?
Oh, shit.
What time does your meeting end?
Take the time you need to give us a.
Well, I want to be conscientious. Does the meeting go to 6:30 or 6:15?
We go until we're done.
Okay. All right, wonderful. Well, thanks for having me. I'm Sally Martinez. I've been with the city for 10 years doing events, and most of you know they're very close to my heart. Grew up in Lakewood, and now I live here with my kids. And so what I'm going to do though is I'm going to pass out our events postcard. So you have that. So actually I'll just divide it up and you can pass that out just so you have the date. But I thought I'll speak a little bit about events. And thank you so much for caring for the parks where I do my events. It's amazing that my second office is Fort Steilacoom Park, and I can have the farmer's market there, and I can have all these amazing events and grow them as big as I want. And there's just not many cities that have that venue. So I'm really, really grateful for your passion for the parks. I don't take that for granted. So I'll talk a little bit about the events, but then I was really going to focus on art and the signal box art and some of the art that we've done at the parks to help beautify. So let's see.
Got the wrong ones.
No, that is how I wanted to start out. So what makes our event special? So I put a lot of intention behind my events that I put on and that the team puts on. And it's always a priority for me to think through, is it accessible for everyone? Is it friendly for people of all ages, for people of all abilities, and people of all socioeconomic backgrounds? That's just kind of the basis I start from, the groundwork from which I build. And then I work with the community. I never work in a silo. And what that means is sometimes I don't put events on. And kind of a neat story is we started the Fiesta 4 years ago, the Fiesta de la Familia. All these other events, for the most part, they've been going on for over 25 years. But I had written in my journal just after I started all about this Fiesta event that I wanted to do. And I really tried to get that going and get it started. And I did a lot of outreach to different partners because I never want to, work alone. And I just couldn't find any organization or Latino organization that was interested. And so I just put it aside until 4 years ago, a Latino art group came and asked me out to lunch. And so long story short, that was the impetus. They were that group that got behind this event. And I could finally, we've got 25 people sitting around as a committee now, and we work together on that event. So that's just one example. And then also just being really nimble and flexible, keeping a pulse on the population in Lakewood and adjusting. So, over 40% of our Clover Park School District families are Hispanic. So I really, wanted to honor them. All right. So what makes special event special is working with the community. And this is a meeting we had last Monday. I just wanted to give an example. So we invited elders, Black elders, and members from the Black Collective to come. One of whom was your supervisor at Pierce County, ironically. And they met with the youth council. And so we had this intergenerational meeting, and it was all about what do they want to see at our MLK event. It's so really putting it back in the community. What do they want? What are we missing? How can we make it better? And so it was a really informative meeting, and I just wanted to show an example of how I reach out and get feedback. And then this is just the fiesta. I wanted to bring out some pictures just because it is so special. And we have the Mexican dancing horses. And this year we're going to have the cowboys come and do their rope tricks, which I've never seen, but I'm really excited about. And this is a community ofrenda. So I don't know if anyone was able to make it, but the ofrenda is typically just a single family would make that, and it would have things to honor their loved ones who've passed. But this is a community ofrenda, so I'm able to pay an artist to create this, and then people come and they write notes to their loved one. They light a little candle and they place a marigold. And you'll see people crying, and it's really touching and moving and beautiful, and just gets bigger and bigger throughout the day. And then I was able to also pay artists to create these Katrina dolls that are traditional as a part of the Day of the Dead event.
Did the Latino community coordinate or inspire with you for these events as well?
Yes. So these artists that originally approached me were all the artists that I was able to pay to make these, and they're just so creative. And then we invited the Mexican consulate, so we had a representative come, and they loved it so much they now advertise it on their website at the Mexican consulate. And just, it's all about kids having, my other measurement for success is, will people remember this event in 10 years? That's really important to me. I want to make sure there's something that's really, really meaningful. And I think it is an event they will remember. And then this was done at the event, but I wanted to highlight it because it was a ribbon cutting for the mural on the that the Arts Commission worked on for the bathroom there, that big colorful mural that you see. And that was a Latino artist. Okay, so we're going to move into the signal box art, and I'm just going to quickly take you through what we've done. We've done over 33 signal boxes at the intersections. And again, we really focus on artists from all different cultures. So you will see that. You can go ahead. Thank you. This is by Chick-fil-A. We'll just kind of go through kind of quickly. 108th Street. This is Mauricio Robolino, so he's Latino. This is a local artist. This is called Tribal Quilt, and it's out on San Francisco Avenue, kind of by Springbrook. And this is a student artist, Sam Reed. This is Chuck Matthias, and he was honoring the Speedway and kind of the history of Lakewood. And this is Lori Davenport, who focuses on African-American families and children. And you'll probably have seen it right across from the library. This is Susan Russell Hall. She's a local artist, incredibly famous. My brother-in-law actually bought a piece of art from her in New York, not knowing she was from Lakewood, but she has a studio here, and she's an amazing artist, and donated her piece. Again, Mauricio's art. So you can see colorful, very cultural. Another one of his. one of Rosa Cruz's. So the flowers, there's certain things that the Arts Commission look for. You can keep going as I talk. Nature, flowers, things that represent Lakewood and the cultural diversity of Lakewood. And we wanted to, focus also on the military. I don't know if you've seen this one. It's out by Highway 512, so it's really, really visible. This is River Meshi, who's since this time really exploded as an artist, so that's really exciting. That's another one of her pieces. This is called Leap of Faith. Love this one. This is another one by Sam Reed, who's a student. Make the Future. I love this. So this is our heron out on Silicon Boulevard. This is a fun one. It's called Lakewood's Curiosity Cabinet. It's kind of one you need to walk by and see to really get the full gist of all the things that are included. And then Laura's one of our Arts Commission members and farmers market vendors, and she's a photographer. Juan Latour was one of the Latino artists that came to help with the fiesta. And so is Jose Arantes. Han Crimini, that I did a nice cultural piece. And we kind of tried to match it with neighborhoods that are more international. This is a fun piece that kind of speaks to Fort Steilacoom Park, and it's on Steilacoom Boulevard. This is Rodney King, also who has since really exploded as an artist, and has been doing a lot of shows in Seattle. This is an ode to pets. We know everyone in Lakewood loves their pets. This is sushi. So driving by it may be hard to tell, but from when you see it like this, you can tell. So, we're learning as we go. But that's the noodles and the sushi, and it's in the International District. That's just something just super colorful that the Arts Commission liked. And that. These are all native plants for the area. Okay. And so these are the wraps that went around the American Lake Park. I worked with Stacy on this, trash bays. And Stacy has the great idea to add wording, just to give a soft message that's incorporated into the art. We were so pleased with how these turned
This
out.
turned out really great.
And there's more.
And I know we spoke about it with our maintenance staff that like Fort Steilacoom, for instance, because they do have the capacity for multiple cans for larger events that, if we could replicate that at Fort Steilacoom during future upgrades, that's another
Oh,
opportunity
that's
for,
fantastic.
art, public art and just functional.
What's the longevity of these on the boxes?
So the boxes were, aluminum and powder coated steel.
Yeah.
So.
The art itself is like 5 to 7 years. They say, I'd say 5 to 10 years. Yeah.
For
5
the
to
art,
10
and then usually most facility, I would say 20 years, so probably if you replace the art then once, then at least 20 years for that.
The vinyl starts to fade pretty.
Right, the
heavily after
UV is
7.
harder on anything,
Mhm.
but they pop now, they're just gorgeous. It's really
Yeah.
excellent.
And one thing we did with these, which was really fun, is we made banners out of them. So those banners can be hung anywhere. Just kind of food for thought if you want to have them out at any of your parks. They translate well anywhere. I mean, we could have
Or
them out
that for
at.
nature preservation with,
Mhm.
the work that Ellen's doing.
So this is now moving towards Lake Park and the signal boxes there. So this was a big, difficult project that Lori Davenport took on. And we'll show you kind of a before and after what's coming. So this is a before. It actually is still like that, but I think by the Awards Lake grand opening, they'll be wrapped. So we're going to show you what Lori came up with. So These are some images. She wanted to highlight animals, people in the park, the plants themselves, and the cultural diversity of the people using the park. There you see the birds and owls. You know, Stacy's spoken about the really huge diversity of birds at the park. Lovely color scheme that pops. Again, people just enjoying the park.
Like that.
You know, she just had a lot of challenges in the shape of the boxes, which
Yeah,
ones you
it's
could
like,
actually see and peek through.
It's a cluster, and actually this was a partnership with Lumen as well. So there's one signal box that's owned by the city for the signal that was installed on 84th and Pine. And then it just was a partnership with Lumen approving we replace like a crumbling rockery that supported this bank of utilities. And then Lori has thoughtfully kind of
You can keep
done
going.
an art collage that is highlighting really people in the neighborhood in our community and the wildlife and nature at the park. I love the red-winged blackbirds. That's definitely in the park. to go
Yeah,
to.
I do too. Yeah. And then this one's so fun because it really speaks to, you know, we were talking to her about like, this isn't only beautifying, but it's like saying, hey, there's a park here. Because people don't know there's a park there. So, and then this is, you've seen this, the beautiful Lou that was
Yeah, Craig Kundal.
Craig kind of, yeah. And so these were some, well, Craig certainly was a new artist. And so, you know, we present a lot of art that comes into the Arts Commission and they do careful voting. You know, I feel like the Arts Commission's really grown together and they're at a point where they really voice their opinions. They have nice dialogues and they always seem to come around to the right decisions, which is really a lovely place to be. So this is our latest project, which is all the new signal boxes along Stillicum Boulevard. There's 6 of them, and we decided that we'd do student art because it leads to Pierce College. And so these are the finalists, and we'll just kind of go through them really quick, but it's really fun. It's all student art. Love that one.
That's great perspective.
I love this one. It's at City Hall. So these are Kellis Harlot's students, and she's on the Arts Commission and she teaches classes and the art's just amazing. I think that's just so cool. Now, not all of these will make it, but they're the finalists, and we just don't know again how many we'll need because there's so many sides and you have to fit them all, and it's quite a puzzle to put together. But I'm meeting with her next week to do that.
What is your budget for signal box art per year?
Well, we have roughly 25 to 30,000 in the Arts Commission budget. And the primary focus has been the signal boxes because they're such a low price point. And a lot of studies show that if you can engage the public at the grassroots level in art and something that's less intimidating, then they'll be more apt to like the bigger pieces that you put in. And so that's where, okay. And so this is new. So we'll stop there for a moment. Any other questions about that?
Piggybacking on what you were saying. So this is donated time and materials or?
And no, so we pay the artist $700 for a large box and $400 for a small box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And again, how many total boxes are there?
Well, there's about 65 in the city,
Okay.
and we've wrapped 33.
And I have yet driving around, I hate to mention it, but have not seen any graffiti.
That's the whole purpose. That is proven that it
That
prevents.
is great.
Yeah, it's really, yeah. That was kind of
So you pay the artists $700
For a
for
large
a
box
large
and
box,
400,
and then you buy the wrap, you pay for the wrap
correct.
and they put it on or?
We work with Print Shop Northwest and they go out, they measure it, they
Okay.
give me an estimate.
Okay.
And then they send a template to the artist. Then they work with the artist. They've been so great. And then they come out and wrap it. Like
Wow.
it's just so clean and they're wonderful to work with.
So how much does it cost for a wrap?
It's roughly all in around 2,500
For a wrap.
for a whole, yeah,
box.
for a,
The
for a
artist
whole
and
thing.
installation, yeah.
For all in.
In-
So it's a nice price.
Of the locations and the names of all those that we could.
Yes.
So we're gonna, an art quest.
Well, we would like to get that. We've been working on getting that up on the website. I think they're just pretty
This is
inundated.
another good topic to get to the neighborhood association so that there's some energy behind that. Because it's great.
Yeah, it really, is. And I mean,
remember when you first started
Yeah.
and Mary was, we're hoping that this will work and they've
Yeah.
taken on.
yeah.
It's just great.
Yeah, and there's not much, fanfare around it, but I do think when I look at other cities, I think ours are spectacular. And we're some notoriety, at least amongst our community members.
Are we becoming a focal point for it's like the Seattle artists who try to come down? Because we have good art.
Well, they probably don't know, right? How would they know?
It gets around,
Yeah. Yeah.
Want to get seen.
Well, I will tell you, this will segue nicely into this. So this is Rodney King's art. So one other thing that we do is we have our quarterly art here, and then we have receptions. So for MLK, we had 12 Black artists, and one of whom is Rodney King, who I had last year alone. And he's just blown up. He's all over in Seattle. He's just gotten really, really big. And what's amazing is he just started during COVID painting. But he networks a lot. He tells a lot of people, a lot of his Seattle artist friends about us and showing here. So yes. So that was an example, and then of his art. And then this was an example of the Beloved Community quilt that we made at the MLK event. So we're kind of combining art so community members could make patches, and then it was turned into a Beloved Community quilt, and now that's hanging here at City Hall. This is an example of the Washington State Korean Association that had a show, and just the amount of people they brought here, it was really exciting. And they all spoke, and we had the group photo. So again, just highlighting the diversity of the artists that we really work hard on to get people of different cultures.
A quarterly display here.
It's done quarterly.
That was.
Mhm. Yeah.
They spoke as well.
Pardon?
They all spoke as well.
No, they had one representative, on the microphone speaking. Okay. And then one of our members, Sylvie, designed the coin. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Sylvie. You've probably seen the new coin that's coming out this year. Is that it? Okay. No, that's good enough.
Very
You
good.
said you have them come out and measure the box and then that is given to the artist so they can draw to it?
Well, they create a template, and then they give the template to the artist.
Okay.
It's complicated.
No,
but-
that's,
But I'm like, I'll just let you two work together, and then I just,
yeah, we do the similar program Federal Way.
Okay.
And so we found way better success once we measured prior, had the template and
Yeah.
measurements and gave that to them. It just, they turned out much better going that route.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. It's hard because we want to collect the art and view it before they go to all this, trouble making it to a
No, no.
template.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So it's a little, so we have them first send in art, and then we're like, okay, now
Yeah.
recreated for the template.
And so it goes out as part of our call, like when we do a call for a box, we call for
Okay.
artists, and then that is part of the, RFP documents or the packet
Yes.
that this is the box and the dimensions that
The
you will
dimensions.
be designing
Nice.
for towards. And like I say, from that moment forward, just the final product
Uh-huh.
elevated by Temple.
Okay, so wonderful.
And again, how many to go yet?
To go, I guess after, well, this will bring it up to about 40, so about 25, but then there'll probably be time to circle around and redo them.
Is that city-owned boxes at the 68 number?
Yeah.
Just city-owned boxes.
Mhm.
Because there's way more than 68 utility boxes in the city.
Yeah. Well, that was a map that we got a couple, well, probably 3 or 4 years ago, and some's changed, some have changed because of the roundabouts. They
Sure.
take those boxes out.
Mm.
So,
It's challenging to communicate with utility.
Oh,
providers.
absolutely.
2 years to get the agreement for the Ward's Lake, so, it was worth 2 years of conversation, but yeah, that's a challenge.
Breakthroughs, you get breakthroughs and then you get a lot of growth
Yes,
with that, but you're right. It
I
takes a
think they
lot of
were-
legwork on it.
there
I
was
mean,
concern about, any impact to their access to maintain those utilities. It really, stuff, yeah.
It's a great project though, and there's something for everybody. And like you say, it's not all your art money in one bucket.
Mhm.
It's
exactly.
literally 60 different pieces.
Mhm.
Somebody's gonna like
Yeah.
everyone.
And it's showing, that anyone in the community can submit art, students can submit art, anyone of any age.
You can put the age, when it's children's art, you can put the age on there. I mean, not the name, but the age.
We decided no. No.
This one's so good. It's like age 6, really,
I know.
I'm so proud of
I
them.
know.
That was on.
And then that aren't so great. It's like, are we sure we don't want to put this is done by a youth? Because maybe they'll be like, why did you choose that one? So
Okay.
that's where we are for now. Yeah.
Any other
Thank you.
questions for Sally? Zoe?
How could someone go about submitting a piece for a new box in the future?
You can email smartinez@cityoflakewood.us. So you just email me some photos. Yeah. So if you're interested, please reach out. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to adjust the, we talked about events, but you saw new park projects that have arts and really the landscape with the signal box. So just how I think important art is in terms of our community and the diversity of our community. I think that's something that allows us to celebrate the culture in all the different ways. So Sally's definitely the right person in charge of those elements.
I really like that it's not outside artists coming in that we're paying them to do something.
Yeah, yeah. But like the display out here, just them to get a platform, right? And to be seen and to be as local as possible, just lets us see all the talent that's here.
All right, Chris, your patience should be. You're up. Now it's your program.
Go to a lot of meetings. Well, hi everyone. My name is Chris Davis. I'm the Neighborhood Connections Programs Coordinator with the city. A lot of you have already seen me, so hello. I'm talking about our volunteer program. So the ordinance just got passed on my birthday, actually. So I was not here for it. Talking about the volunteer program here at the city. This process kind of started through looking at that volunteering here. There was not really a good streamlined process for volunteers to get, want to volunteer with the city, and 2, trying to add the street ends to people to be able to adopt street ends for this, so people can work on them and maintain, and without going into a street end and just deciding what needs to be cut. So that was a big portion of this. So kind of now is a lot of the volunteers will kind of go through me for paperwork. So being like, okay, you want to volunteer with the city. Here's the waivers, here's kind of the process. And then I kind of just branch them out to who's actually going to be managing them. So whether that's through parks, whether that's through planning public works, or whatever you're volunteering around, then they'll do more of the coordination on that part. I mainly do Adopt a Street and now Adopt a Street End. So for Adopt a Street End, it's going to be 4 of them. So it's 4 sites. So it's 100 Street, Lake City Boulevard, Holden Road, Southwest, what's Lake Louise, and then Westlake Avenue, what's also Lake Silicon. So that's we're not fully ready to get started, people adopting those yet. I have to wait for city council is having a discussion in the next month to talk about encroachment. And once they make those decisions, then people are able to go and adopt those street ends. Trying to think what else next. Yes, there's currently a volunteer handbook that's in draft in the works. That still there's a lot of updating that needs to happen with that. Because that's mainly focusing on the adopt a street and street ends and the other volunteering that's happening with the city. And then what else is in there? Yeah, that's the basics. Any questions on that?
So I have we've adopted our street, my family adopted our street. Is that gonna stay in? Does it go out of the program or?
It stays in.
Okay.
So everyone who's currently on the adopt a street, it's in. This is just adding the street ends to it. Yeah.
Have you ever been a volunteer coordinator? Have
Me?
you ever, yeah,
I have for YMCA, but I don't, this is more administrative than actually coordinating the volunteers. I'll just be.
there used to be one. And I
Yeah,
have a handbook that you can borrow.
yeah, I have a draft. I was gonna print out the draft, but I was like, I don't know if I should print out the draft or not. But there is a draft that's there. But it's mainly only
I'll just
focused.
drop it by and you can,
Yeah,
it's a certified, a national certified program for volunteer coordinators. So
oh,
it's really in depth. If you ever wanted to do that, you could.
yeah. Yeah, I wish I would have printed out the one I have. Like, that's
That's fine.
there, but yeah, I'll definitely do that. 'Cause that'd be great.
So did we see his role then as morphing into more like, would we make a plan for, say, for Stelicum? And volunteers want to go out and plant a tree or remove some equipment or something like they have, you know? Will we have more of a plan for like? Are we gonna work towards that? Or
I think
they,
it's more of departments, so it's other duties is assigned to departments. And so they'll manage that as they come in.
Yeah.
Chris will welcome them, integrate them, orientate them, and then
okay,
move them where they need to go in the next department
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
manage.
We're working on these big two, right? This, parks, we have the largest base of current ones. So a lot of this now, especially because he's out in the neighborhoods, in terms of helping to recruit new interests or when people bring interest. So it really is kind of that triage and taking, he said, and getting some consistency and continuity with that. So one piece that that's easy to map, right? So I think the issue is our existing base of volunteers with annual updates to those agreements. And really facilitating that so that, to your point, what's the work plan? What's been the deliver? What's the support? How is the relationship going? And so
Yeah.
we're still definitely holding that relationship, but figuring out how it ties into the broader system. And I think the ordinance that we attached was just, like I said, there was some impetus around the street ends, but it really is about particularly volunteers who are working on public property, whether that's right away or in a park. And, a park is a specific spot that's being adopted. We need some consistency across that and to maybe more formalize and just more continuity in how that's been executed across the board. Now, of course, there's still event volunteers and advisory council volunteers in other areas, but I think this really is making sure that work on the properties is within boundaries.
yeah.
Yes.
And well managed and well tracked.
The city really needs a volunteer coordinator is what it needs.
Yes.
I would say the Parks Department needs its own on top of one for the city as a whole. Yeah, just all comes down to funding and priorities.
So you're gonna be the clearinghouse for like adopt a street hours and jobs when it gets done, because we started one
Yeah.
just before your predecessor with Cloverbrook Rotary.
I'll have. Yeah, that'll be me.
All roads lead to
Yeah,
Chris.
that'll be me.
Yeah.
So.
But he,
Yeah.
so could you explain,
Yeah, I was a little confused. I didn't realize that we had hired someone to coordinate the volunteer program in the city. And Chris is okay, I did not know that.
but
Okay,
we're not,
so
not just for the parks though.
Yeah.
it isn't just for the parks. Oh, now I get,
Yeah.
All right.
but more like
You're not all.
I got added.
Okay.
Some got added to my job.
Other duties as assigned.
I was hoping.
Yeah.
So are you gonna put up adopt a street end signs when somebody adopts a street end? Are we going that far like you did for streets or they've done streets or?
I think that's the conversation we've talked about. Yes,
I mean, it
depending
takes a
on,
commitment,
yes.
you know, to do that.
Well,
So-
and it helps the community know too that somebody has adopted, so they're not,
Right.
you know, running out and accosting somebody that they see
Sure.
doing that. And, you know, it being listed on the website
It's
as
really
well.
good too to check in with the adoptee, adopter.
Mhm.
Are you still taking care of it? When's the last time you did something?
Yeah.
Because we have, I remember that guy came to our,
Yeah, this was several months ago.
yeah, it's like, I want to adopt the street and they tell me I can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was
Yeah.
safety concerns on
Yeah,
when he can do it.
right. he just
Safety,
quit.
and then like, I believe the person was bringing children.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And there's a limit
Yeah.
on like, if they're under, I think they're under 16,
Okay.
13, 15, then you have to,
Whether they're adult. with them.
yeah, something like that. So there's rules around it.
So was that clear to you, Shelley? He's
Yeah.
not hiring? Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that's clear, because like I said, I think it's important. It's something that this group should be advocating for the city, because a volunteer coordinator is needed. But city council has to hear that from people.
Like I say, for a minute, I thought,
Oh, yeah, it would be wonderful, but now.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think we're just filling the gaps as we can.
Any other questions for Chris, volunteer?
And so, I mean, Parks still has Parks Appreciation Day,
Yes,
like
oh,
we
yeah.
coordinate that and
Yeah.
Chris is at the table and how that's going. And we've tried to streamline here and actually, right now, Nikki's that main part. We have facility rentals and our community partnerships. And just in terms of intake and relationship and continuity, even if, Jay and his staff on the ground are the ones providing the supplies and materials, for them to track annual renewals and hours and all that kind of stuff. So I believe, I walked in and asked who does volunteers and got a lot of, well, which piece and whatever. So we're really streamlining to map into this and what that looks like. Yeah.
Definitely a step forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. All right, moving on. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Moving on to the director's report.
Woo. Well, in your packet is the written report, so I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. I'll keep it short and focused kind of on what's new since last month and what are some things of key consideration and that you might be hearing about recently. So one is Edgewater Park. We are kind of before the Planning Commission right now in terms of a redesignation of the newly acquired parcel. So that parcel gets put into the boundary with urban park designation because it's already in the master plan and the concept plan of the site. So those are, key elements for having that get accomplished in terms of redesignating the site. So then we're able to look at the entire parcel. It is a complex project, safety will tell you. And, even looking at, yes, there's a concept plan there, but now we're getting into shoreline buffer and boundaries and the fact that it's in the right of way and road. And so really having to bring as much public access, as much ecological improvement to the site, but working through those boundaries. So it really isn't until June that the shoreline master plan local amendment to change the designation gets all the way through its process. And then we're going to be we're already still moving on all kind of these permitting and review, both from in the internal, the Lakewood Code, but also Department of Ecology and starting to build that relationship because it's going to be critical that we have a good package that goes forward for that. So, those are the hearings that are happening now. If you're hearing things and you like to watch Planning Commission and wondered what those were about, those are available to you. A couple things, both, the H barns and, the H barns themselves had a briefing with the council. Because in November, there was a determination that we should go for the whole thing. Like, if you're gonna plan for the full footprint, do all that needs to be done in order to do it right, because you probably won't phase and come back later, which makes sense. But that $14 million price tag was still hard to swallow. And some of the direction that came with that is, okay, do the whole thing, but figure out if we can pursue other things that make it more cost effective. And one of those elements were a prefabricated building. That really is the only thing that could significantly reduce the cost. So we brought that forward, and it was pretty much, spit back out pretty quickly in terms of nobody liked how that tasted, how that sounded, concerns about how much control we'd be able to do. But the discussion, I think, really opened up to an understanding of where are we, how is this building going to be used, and with 2 new council members, and with, I think, a council member who wasn't present in November for some of those conversations, they asked for an ad hoc committee to be set up within 30 days. That has been set for April 6th. So both Shelley and Jason were in the room, I think, during the conversation. There's 3 council members, so it doesn't need to be posted as a public meeting. 3 council members, 2 members from this board, the chair plus 1, we'll have the discussion there, 2 members for Partners from Parks, and the tourism representative. And, I've got the task. We're going to meet on the 6th from 5 to 6:30, which is before the council member at 7, to walk through that discussion with the council members. And the consultant will be there. And I think we kind of have a plan. I think it's just as resetting kind of those prior decisions, where they came from. I will tell you the good news, and it's not in hand. But even at the whole enchilada, that's a $13 million estimate. Again, we are so early. I mean, these are estimates, and everybody wants the exact, right? And that's been part of it. Until we get to 60% and start to really get into things in terms of systems, we're not going to get more and more refined in our cost estimates. But we have to make decisions that aren't wasting design dollars or giving them 2 different avenues. So what's really kind of come forward is, here's the operating profile for them to understand. I think maybe, as you all do, that there is a cost recovery kind of strategy. And while programs fund themselves in order to recover the cost of a facility, that's where rentals come in, and why the design to be accommodating to weddings and those special events is important, because that's going to actually fund the cost recovery requirement of the site. And I think that was me. Some council members were wondering, how are we even going to manage this building on the other side? So again, we can answer those questions for them. The original kind of phasing thing had, scaled back landscaping or maybe adjusting a wing. Right now, we have a funding profile for 11 million out of the 13 million that'd be needed for construction. 3 million of that is a federal ask, and 1 million of that is a grant that I have until April 10th to put in. And so they're not in hand, but it's realistic. And the other part is, I think they really had a sense that maybe 1 or more of those event wings could be shortened or revamped into something that's more indoor outdoor, like the Puyallup Pavilion. Roll up the side, and so it doesn't have to be used in the winter. And how would that affect things? So the consultant's going to be there to answer some of those questions, but that's the goal, is that those we work through those issues on the 6th, and then those 3 council members are equipped for a conversation at the council retreat on the 18th of April, to be able to give some direction that would allow us to get the consultants back moving forward May 1, because Partners for Parks are nervous. I mean, they can't move forward with fundraising, they feel, at this threshold. And if we can move forward May 1, then we can still get to a point of some concrete answers for 60% design, coming back to them at the end of the year, which then triggers our next set of decisions for the 90, but that also then means we can start coming up with real numbers. We know if we got the federal money. I think there's a lot of conversation with the Fort Silicon parking that is supposed to be adjacent to that building, that do we have overlap? Do we have cost savings? Should we actually more put those two things together? So I think we'll have a chance to answer those questions. So before I move on to anything else, I'll turn it to Jason or Shelley if you had. Mhm.
I probably got a lot more to say than we got time for, but I attended the meeting. I had read the materials in advance, but I chose not to speak because I hadn't conferred with Roxanne, and wanted to kind of hear some of the debate to see what maybe needed to be interjected or didn't. Something that I kind of felt I heard out of the conversation, or I feel that with turnover on city council staff and the city manager, it felt like there was a little bit of a loss of passion for the project. From my experience and my time on this board, this has been a passion project for the community. Multiple people behind that, and it has a high price tag, a higher price tag than any of us anticipated when the community undertook it. But that's why we're in these positions, to solve these problems, right? And so there was still debate on renovation and what that meant, and whether or not how much of the existing building you're going to utilize. I got specific opinions on that. Better for a better time. The conversation was on prefab versus standard construction. And I think that debate's pretty easy, and it kind of hashed itself out at the meeting. The prefab is not really the way it felt like the tide or the was there. And I think that's absolutely the right decision. I think prefab would be a huge mistake. Some of the city council
Sorry,
members.
Jason, I'll say, so the estimated savings was about 500,000. So I think that was part of it. Like, that's not enough to,
But even prefab construction, if a municipal corporation is getting in and building facilities, they should be looking at a 50-year lifespan on these buildings, because they're gonna be with the community that long. And anything you're gonna build prefab does not have that longevity. And so that's why I made the statement of, I believe it's an absolute mistake to go prefab.
While they're on the prefab, my question is, what would that look like? There any,
Well,
I mean,
that
would you tear down what's there?
The temporary library that we got.
Right, that was an
So that's
example.
that's a temporary.
Yeah,
anyway, that was thrown out.
Yeah, so prefab thrown out. So I think that
Yeah.
discussion's moved on, but again, to me, when I heard that and read that in the materials, it was very concerning. I heard a couple members on the city council ask for a business plan for this building. I think that's a wise move, but if you want a business plan, you've got to fund that. That can't be extra duties as assigned to staff. Staff has got an overextended workload as it is, period. They talked about LEED certification, and that's something that I think this ad hoc committee needs to settle at that meeting. It's in the city's best interest to make that decision up front so that you can give that information to the designers. The worst time to decide to go for LEED certification is in the middle of the project. You've already got half of the work done, and now you've got to change course. A big portion on LEED, and back in the day, they used to call it a green tax. So you wanted to have an environmentally efficient building. They would say, just general numbers, it was a 20% tax on it, right? And LEED certification is taking that to new levels, and there's different levels of certification. And I think on the high end for platinum, you're probably 12 to 20% increase in cost to get that certification. But the benefit you have is you're supporting a healthy world, and you're minimizing resources. And what you'll see out of that LEED certification, even though you're putting more money up front, generally, over a 5 to 10 year period, you will see a ROI based on those energy and just the savings based on the utilities. And so a lot more could be said on that, but that came up, and I think that's an imperative decision to make ASAP, so it doesn't cost the city any more than it has to. Like I said, I believe the city has been clamoring for this space, and yes, it's noble to have a business plan, but like I say, it has to be funded and has to be assigned out somewhere. But this community has been clamoring for space so much so that we don't have enough. A piece I would be looking to get from staff, and I don't want to put any more work on staff, but there were some comments made about the pavilion, and the pavilion maybe it felt like there wasn't a good thought on the pavilion, and that it's not programmed enough. And the comment that I heard was it sits empty most nights. And I don't believe that to be the case. I don't know what scheduling is, but I know my wife and I will go there to yoga in the middle of the week. And so I know there is some activity going there, whether it's programmed 24/7, no building is. And so with the community clamoring for space, the community also needs space. We don't have enough space for community gathering spots. We have a senior program that has not had a home in over 5 years. To me, completely and totally unacceptable. So just because you put a business plan in doesn't change the need. The need has been in this community for gathering spaces, whether that's, Rotary, Senior Club, all sorts of groups need it, and that sort of thing. So just from professional experience, the city of Federal Way, I was involved in building a $15 million community center. And I think if we had to do it over again, it would be bigger and more expansive than it is now because of the benefits. And at one time, it was so controversial, the city council was thinking of giving away our community center to the YMCA. Thank goodness they didn't do that. But if you build it, they will come. And like I say, this community has been clamoring for space. A business plan doesn't change that. Staff in this community and this parks department is wise enough to know the needs and could fill that space. Something that's not talked about, which never is, but should be, is M&O money and taking care of it. We've never had enough parks maintenance or facilities maintenance staff as it is. And so before you add anything, I'm a firm believer in taking care of what you have. In addition to, as you plan for that, you should be planning for the maintenance of that facility for the long term. Personal opinion, there are lots of financial priorities, and that's what it's about. There's limited dollars, and we have to prioritize that. I think a levy would be a fine opportunity in this city, but again, that's a whole nother effort, and that's years of planning to get there. I don't know that a bond is the correct route. I don't know that financing tomorrow's dollars for today is the right decision either. And so figuring that out is something there. It was brought up about the 2 other barns and some city council, well, what's going to happen with those? My understanding on that was that the community's focus was to put its money, energy, and resources into the H-Arn because it was the most viable to be renovated. And the other 2 barns, hopefully we could preserve them, but they were never going to be a public access or public use, but just try to keep them structurally intact, right? And integrity to that structures. Let's see, council brought up issues of the H-Barn being a moneymaker. I hate to break it to any city council, but municipal government builds things because there's not money in it. If there was money in it, private industry would be doing it. And so there is a cost to things, and there's a cost to creating a healthy community, and creating gathering spaces is hugely important. And again, putting a price tag on things is easy, but the life you will be able to change and the experiences that you can create in people through that facility, you can't put a price tag on. Again, I talked about lack of senior programming space. Again, teen programming is another one where we don't have a lot of space. And so that's where knowing a little bit about the pavilion schedule, you might have some opportunities there. There was another thought of maybe not renovating it to the level that's been talked about previously, and keeping it more of an open air structure, similar to a Magnuson Park where they've got a hangar. completely different structures, completely different parks, and completely different use patterns and needs of the community. And so I thought it was a pretty creative and ingenious idea as a way to really scrimp or cut down on costs. But I don't believe that that's enough for this community. I believe this community deserves better. And how we've been planning for this H barn is where the direction should be. Because it's what we've been talking about for at least a decade, it feels like. And I don't know the years on that. So those are my initial thoughts. As you can tell, I got some strong opinions on this. But it's because I care and I don't want to see the work that previous people have put into getting where we are. The other real concern I have is the message that we sent to Park Pals, or the city council sent to Park Pals that evening. Park Pals is a small organization that has raised $3.2 million for this project. And I can't remember, but there's part of me that thought the city council had done an MOU with Park Pals before they started fundraising. And to my knowledge, that MOU stated that at the time it was a $7 million project. You get to 3.2 and the city would figure it out from there. It reads way differently than that, but that's the gist I remember. I haven't had time to go up and try to pull that document and reread it. But we have a partner here, and we have got to support that partner because there are not many partners that are bringing in $3.2 million. They wanted to start their finishing campaign here, this spring, but how do you do that when you have a city council that's waffling and not sure they even want to move this project forward? And so that evening, because I didn't speak at public comment, but I felt like I had some professional expertise that would make a difference in this conversation if council members heard, I'd asked by the city clerk to be recognized. I was not. That's appropriate. I mean, it was per Robert Rules of Order, and it wasn't extended, but so I will be trying to attend public comment where I can. I wanted to make sure my feelings were known because if I do go to city council meetings, in the past, you've allowed me to speak on this board's behalf. I don't do that, or I don't take that lightly. And so again, I would want permission, or I would want us to have a consensus. Otherwise, I will go speak as a private citizen and have that. But I'm pleased to be represented on this board. I would like to know all of your thoughts on this. That way I can represent each of you and us as a whole as a board. And I guess I'll leave it at that for now because I got way more thoughts even.
I say, and there's room for a second park board member to join on the 6th of April at this work session. And then it is the same night as the proclamation. For Parks Appreciation Day, if you were coming out for that. And this will be the highlight of my career to get to facilitate this conversation. As you can tell. Was that?
I had a friend book a wedding in a new barn in Pierce County that's just opened, and it was $8,000 to book a wedding. So you look at the business plan, this doesn't have to be a bottomless pit for the city. We have to build a dang thing. But I think your point that we have never, as a city, had a group come before us with this kind of money and that kind of support from our city people that want this facility, that's a mandate that, yeah, it's gonna be a tough project, but we gotta get it done. We have to figure out a way to do this.
What size was that wedding?
I think it was like 250.
And I want
Who would fit in this facility? I just use that as an example because you're gonna make a business plan and there's gonna be one little element, it's the rentals and then the public use both. It doesn't have to be a big drain for the city.
What to say? I mean, I think there are there are answers to some of their questions to put out very quickly. And while I agree with you, some of it was almost an in-out kind of conversation. I think there were other members who are clear we've made a commitment to this. So what is the, right sizing and what is the decisions that need to be made to move this forward and reinvest, and give confidence back to partners. But, you know, there's diversity in views in the three council members.
Yep.
So. Yeah. Is there a second?
No one else wants to do it, I'll do it.
That sounds like how you ended up being vice chair. You know?
People.
You thought, any arm wrestles?
You've been around long enough. You know, this has been on the Parks and
Yeah,
Boards
yeah.
discussion for 15 years. So ever since we did the barn study, which one made sense to restore for a public building? And it was clear this was the only one. And the others are brick buildings. And the city was smart. They put new roofs on them as soon as we incorporated, took over that park to preserve those buildings.
Mhm.
But they're not going to be what this H barn can be for a community as a facility.
I do think the merit was, I mean, the other thing is like, yeah, we just are advanced on that 3 million by Strickland's office. And, you know, by all indications, it's kind of an aside that the window on the House side was short and they precluded nonprofits for applying. So that's a very short list. So, I mean, the question we feel is less if we get funding, but just how much in the whole amount. And so there was kind of a recognition like, y'all, you know what? We just submitted 3 million, like we can't be putting these requests out there. We've committed to these things. But I think the question just becomes, how are we going to the 14? Are we okay to go just if we're actually seeing, you know, 11 and this is where we're on, how can we pull back? And the reality is that some of the other models, I think, allowed us, some of this scaling is probably a pretty easy scale back kind of with alternates, if that makes people comfortable, if they understand the operating side, because that is probably a proper statement. They just don't have all the information of being responsible policymakers that know what the cost is beyond construction.
Do you want us to give you a consensus of how we?
It's totally up to you, whether you want to do that in this forum, whether you want to give me a call, whether you want to shoot me an email, however each of you is comfortable, I'll leave that to you guys.
So when do you need to have this information?
So April 6th is the ad hoc meeting.
But I think your request, because you're attending at the ad hoc, which is fully you're representing this body and the views, is if separately you want to, during a council meeting, you know, submit anything on behalf of this group versus individually, which
So do we want a motion from somebody from this group that this group supports this project as the Parks Advisory Committee?
I don't think that hurts. Like, I mean, I think that's.
I would
that's
like to make
beneficial.
that motion that as the city's Parks Advisory Commission, we would like to fully support the H barn renovation.
I'll second that.
Simple, you figure it out, figure out the money, figure out the policy, figure out the plan,
Mhm.
but we support this project.
And based on the time, again, you know, they're charged to bring feedback, and so the retreat is a work session. I don't think there's public comment there, but it has to be publicly open because they're together. So they're not going to be necessarily entertaining anything that they have to vote on. But the bigger part was they were just asked for direction, you know, and their standing direction is proceed to 60%. So if it continues to be proceed with 60% with input from the 6, then there's really not gonna need to contend with anything or get another decision from them. But
What
if
do you see as the follow-up in the next board?
Yeah, by the time we meet together again next time, we will definitely have the follow-up here, and I think maybe that would educate.
Yeah, and so what I don't know is it also on that city council meeting agenda that carry forward, or is it gonna be like 2 meetings down the road when they decide to have that as an agenda item? And so to me, that's important. And if you guys do see that and could let the board know, I think that's important. But yeah, it's on pause for council or tabled until this ad hoc committee meets and then they put it on their next agenda, whatever date that agenda it lands on. I don't think we know that yet.
I think it's an advisory, we're trying to advise them, who's the
Hmm.
broker,
Good point.
so it's very.
So, I mean, we made a motion, but so is the motion that we support that and we want that message to get the council, would that be a motion then to have me draft a letter that goes to city council on behalf of the board? Or we just want that reflected in the minutes?
If you're going to attend the meeting, you
Yeah,
can
I can
share that with.
Yes, okay. And that, I'm just making sure I understand how you guys want this conveyed, so.
You're authorizing him to share your position at the meeting.
Yeah.
And in future opportunities until it's changed by the
Right.
board.
We had a first, we had a second, any other discussion?
Nope. Second.
All right, all in favor?
Other than outstanding.
All opposed?
Wait.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, unanimous approval. Thank you. I appreciate your
What
support.
time is the ad hoc committee meeting?
5 to 6:30, and I'll forward the invite
Okay.
to you, Vito.
Okay.
Mhm. And I will be attaching a
Okay.
PowerPoint or
Okay.
agenda with that, so you'll have a chance to see it in advance. Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, return. So, carrying on with the director's report. Just so Camp Murray, the boat launch master plan, familiar, it's fabulous. It's there. Washington Military has boundaries to their installation, but it's actually state land. It's a Department of Fish and Wildlife land because even the Camp Murray is on state land. We have initiated the key stakeholder interviews because for us, it's really important to talk to Fish and Wildlife, talk to West Pierce Fire and Rescue, those who all actually have lease or ownership type of things. So those are all underway, and then we will be commencing the steering committee next month. And then really in terms of once all the site constraints and boundaries and goals of that are really hashed out, we'll be able to have the options start to come forward, but you will be getting an update on that project in the next couple months. We've got that scheduled. There is an opportunity to apply for an RCO, what they call recreational planning access grant. And so they do it primarily for legacy plans and for master plans. So we're interested in pursuing one for a Fort Silicon Park master plan. There's no match, but it's something where we really need to update it in the site, given H Barnes, given sport partnerships, all those elements. And that actually was also a council member commentary of, wanting to verify that we've thought through how this improvement is going to potentially impact the site.
Well, that was brought up and we did have a master plan on this. A lot of things have happened from it and it's due for an update, but there had been a master plan if you weren't aware of that.
Yes. And I've seen recreational activity plans and, different pieces of it. So it'll be really good to bring that forward. You guys heard about events. In terms of next meeting we have on the schedule, the legacy plan updates. So looking forward to bringing that to you. We'll have the updates on our community outreach from 2025 that came out of it. But then also really talking about level of service, how we define that, and is going to be a little bit different this time. So I want to share that first with you and get your feedback on it with your expertise before we lock that in with the consultants. And then they will be doing a lot of background work in order to have a draft plan in July.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Camp Murray Boat Launch.
Yeah.
On American Lake, we have enough problems and the city we have an assessment district. And I think that it would be prudent for the city to start putting in wash stations for boats. I think that it's critical that we're 3 years out from having a new assessment and our milfoil is not going to go away at any time short. And that if we want to keep American Lake not pristine, because we will never get back to pristine, but we need to have it cleaner than it is now. We've had other issues raised, but I think as the chair of the committee, I think it's important to start having these wash stations. I've requested them for American Lake Park. I don't know how people thought that I was whistling Dixie, but it's so important to wash our boats. Oregon has a boat inspection. I mean, we don't even have that, but American Lake is heavily used. And maybe I'm beating on a drum being a resident, but I also have another resident here.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we improve the quality of American Lake. So with that, I would like the consultant to start thinking about, and the park department to start thinking about wash stations on that lake.
And I can tell you, we had a site meeting on Monday and that was given to them, that that's an important design consideration.
Okay, thank you.
It should be included. Again, just so you know, this is the master plan, and what's interesting, why the city is leading it, right? We have no ownership. We know everything.
I know.
So one of the pieces that will come of it is, are we saying, okay, you know, Washington Fish and Wildlife, you know, are you gonna move it forward, or is there going to become some, you know, city operating agreement or any of those type of things about how it goes? And so I
Okay.
think some of this coming back, I mean, I think your voice coming all the way through, because it's what makes it a safer launch? What kind of is Department of Fish and Wildlife standard for just getting amenities that are failed or not current up to their code? And then what would it be that would make it more of a launch with neighborhood park amenities, and what the city would require or want in that? And that's kind of three different models based on who's going to be owning the result of this on the other side. So we'll definitely, it's on here that it's coming back here. And so your guys' notes and comments with it, and that's May already, will be important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have one more thing along that line, not just making it cleaner, but also safer. There's big, have you heard of No More Under? It's a drowning prevention program,
Mhm.
and they will provide life jackets. There's also, the Coast Guard has free life jackets for boaters, because they want everybody to have, and they will keep them filled. If we got the Coast Guard to give us free life jackets for the boat launch at American Lake Park, it's okay to use them over here. They said that they said,
So that's an American Lake.
yeah, American Lake Park.
Because there's no swimming at.
We've had too many, I mean, you live there, we live there, and it's so sad when somebody drowns in the lake, and it's
Yeah.
very.
Well, that's why we're where we're at now with the milfoil.
At Camp Marina?
That was.
No, at American Lake, yeah, yeah. And I know we have the rope convention. Yeah, we had at the camp, we had a pretty strong swim safe for those same reasons at North Lake Taps, and that's filled and mountain fed. That's extremely cold water.
So we can get some motion,
lot
some
of
energy
feeling.
behind that,
Mhm.
to get these safety things in place.
Okay, thank you
One
for
of my
that.
life
I'll-
goals.
One more thing to pull up. We've have a draft waterfront management plan that we're sharing with law enforcement and emergency management, those pieces. So we'll be looking for those
Just
opportunities.
as an aside, we had two very, very large boat slips from Camp Murray that broke away. And I spent about an hour and a half or 2 hours trying to figure out how to get them off the lake, because they posed a hazard for seaplanes if there was anybody that was landing, or for boaters.
Right.
And they were at least 8 double slips, and
Sure.
both of them broke loose. So,
They're just floating there like,
yeah.
who's
And, but at least we have the marine boat that comes out, and the cops were right there. I don't know if it was Sergeant Frazier, but you know, he's always been serving us well by helping us on the lake. So it was,
So new one, I got that. Yeah. Hey, we found a dock. You want it? I'm like, what?
I didn't call you though.
Well, I don't know. They hauled it back to JBLM, which is where they thought it broke off of. But it was kind of like, you know, pressure wash it. It's perfect good. Do you want it? I'm like, aren't you taking it back to?
It was Cat Marie's?
It was Yeah, it was Camp Murray, but they're closed down for the season. Camp Murray, what's the other one?
Yeah.
Well, it was,
It's off.
it was Russell Landing. They're closed down for the season. Yeah.
It's the same one.
Got that one that's
Yeah.
half sunk.
Oh, I have for you there.
So, thank you.
All right, that's it for the director's report. Any other reports for board members? I got Shelley.
No report. Question on April 25th, is the expectation there at 12 o'clock, 12:30 at the ribbon cutting that we would attend that? Is that?
That's the plan.
Are you part of this board? You'd be there.
You are all invited.
So
We're gonna
obviously
have a
they're
pretty good
working
showing.
at the different sites,
Mhm.
myself,
Yep.
at Fort Telecom. Make sure you take off in time.
So I'll be at Fort Telecom. I'll say, let's wrap it.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're my lead.
And so we can
Yeah.
head over to.
Right.
You're my captain.
I will be there with the clipboard checking
Yeah.
you in and trying to facilitate that piece.
Looking forward to it.
Mhm.
There is limited parking at the park, so plan ahead. We are, if you know for certain how many vehicles are coming, if you can't carpool, and you can let us know ahead of time, we have a verbal agreement with Village Green next door with a city placard pass that we can utilize their parking if our parking is full. So just let Nikki know and then we'll be able to coordinate.
And that'll be, I think even that number of stalls is gonna be less than our dignitary list.
So is there
Anything
parking on
you can.
that south side?
There is parking on the south side if you wanted to walk
Yeah.
through. There's, I
Through.
think, 11 stalls and you
Yeah,
can park
actually,
on.
street side, yeah.
The
Yeah.
south side does, the
Parking
north
right away.
side, it's 84, so.
No,
Go to the south side.
Okay,
Go to
gotcha.
this one down here. It's
City-
tiny, but you
By the
park
dock.
on streets.
But right by the dog park, there's a couple stalls there. and
Yeah.
Then down further, there might be some spots.
Louis, did you have a comment? Yep.
Oh, we just wanted to know if you could commit to the Words Lake Park.
Yes,
That's
you
the
can.
25th, right?
Yes, it is. Mhm.
So me and Damien want to commit to.
Perfect. It's all day, huh? Cause you'll be there 9 to noon and then right to the hot dog and right to the ribbon cutting and, all right.
Any other board members for reports? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
perfect. Thank you all. Appreciate the input and extending time.
Yeah.
tonight.
I lived on